He thought money could buy anything, even me. But I let him believe it. I played the perfect part, smiled at his gifts, whispered sweet things he wanted to hear. Until the day he realized I was never his to begin with. And that day, I made sure he watched me leave. Before I tell you how I turned the game on a billionaire, hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life plot twists, and make sure you don't miss the moment I walked away like a queen. Now let's get into this. I wasn't always this put together. Back then, I was just a black girl with big dreams and barely enough to keep the lights on. Life in the city moved fast, and I was always trying to catch up. I worked 2 jobs, one during the day, one at night. I shared a cramped apartment with a roommate who talked in her sleep and used all the hot water. Rent came too fast, food didn't last long, and I learned how to stretch $1 like it was magic. I didn't complain much, though. That's just how it was. You hustle, you grind, you pray, and you keep going. Love? Love felt like some extra thing other women had time for. Like flowers you stop to smell when you're not late for work. I didn't have the energy to be swept off my feet when I could barely stand. And then, he showed up. Out of nowhere. Like he belonged in a different world. He had that smooth kind of confidence, like everything bent to his will. Expensive shoes. The kind of smile that said, "I've never heard no in my life." And for some reason, that smile was aimed right at me. I still remember the night like it was stitched into my memory. I was working at this fancy charity event, one of those nights where rich people wear designer smiles and drink wine they can't pronounce. I wasn't supposed to be seen, just serve. Keep your head down, refill glasses, and smile politely. That was the job. I was wearing this stiff black uniform that clung in all the wrong places, and my feet were already crying from the heels I bought secondhand. I was focused on making it through the night without breaking a tray, or my spirit. That's when I felt it, eyes on me. I looked up, and there he was, standing across the room like a scene out of a movie. Tall, tailored, calm like nothing ever rattled him. Our eyes met, and for a second, I thought maybe he was looking at someone behind me. But no, it was me. Just me. He didn't smile at first. He studied me, like he was trying to figure out why I didn't fit into the room, and maybe why that made me stand out even more. Later that evening, he found a reason to talk to me. Said something charming but simple. He wasn't loud, wasn't trying to impress. He asked my name like it mattered, and when I told him, he said it slow, like tasting something rich for the first time. That moment, it caught me off guard. I wasn't used to men like him noticing women like me. I thought it was just a fluke, a rich man being polite. But I'd learned soon enough. He didn't do anything by accident. It started slow, like a story you don't realize is writing itself. He wasn't pushy. He was intentional. Thoughtful texts. Late-night calls that somehow made time feel softer. One day, a car showed up outside my building. No message, just the driver holding a sign with my name. I didn't even know people did that outside of movies. Inside the car was a little box with a note. "You've been working hard. Let me take you somewhere where you don't have to." That night, he flew me out to a private dinner overlooking the ocean. Just me, him, and the sound of water brushing against money. And I won't lie, part of me wanted to believe this was real. That a man like him could fall for a woman like me. He made it easy. Every compliment, every gift, every look, it was like he was building a world where I was the center of it. And for the first time, I stopped thinking about bills, bus schedules, and late rent. He called me his peace, his softness, said I had this glow that money couldn't buy. Funny how billionaires love talking about things money can't buy while wearing watches that cost more than your whole life. I knew I was playing a part. I smiled at the right times, nodded when he wanted agreement, laughed even when the joke wasn't funny. But somewhere in the middle of pretending, I started wondering if maybe, just maybe, I could make this fairy tale mine. Even though deep down, I kept my truth close. because something about how easily he moved through the world, how easily he assumed I'd follow, something about that made me hold a little piece of myself back, just in case I needed to remember who I was. The cracks started small, like hairline fractures you don't notice until the whole thing's ready to break. It was the way he'd pause before introducing me, like he had to decide which version of me to present. "This is my friend," he'd say, sometimes with a slight laugh, as if the truth would embarrass him. Or maybe me. At first, I brushed it off, told myself it was the crowd, the setting, the pressure. But deep down, I knew he didn't see me as equal. I was decoration, something pretty to sit beside him, nod, and play grateful. Then came the suggestions, wrapped in compliments. "You'd look better in something softer. You don't need to work anymore. I'll take care of you. No woman of mine should be taking the train." And suddenly, my independence started to feel like an inconvenience to him. My job, my hustle, my voice, things I was proud of, became problems he quietly wanted to fix. I could see it in his eyes. He thought he was upgrading me, like I was some fixer-upper he found and polished into something worth showing off. The worst part, he believed he was being kind, generous, like he saved me from a life I should have been ashamed of. One night, after a dinner with his business partners, he leaned in and said, "You're lucky I saw something in you." And that was it. That was the moment it all clicked. He didn't love me. He loved the story he made up about rescuing me. He thought he owned me, because he gave me things. But what he didn't know was I had already started taking back everything he thought he bought. My time, my voice, my power. And soon I'd take back my exit too. After that night, I stopped pretending for him, and started pretending to him. I let him think he still had me wrapped around his diamond-covered finger. Let him believe his money was still enough to keep me smiling. But inside, something shifted. I was no longer in it for the fantasy. I was studying him the way he once studied me. Quietly, patiently. I played my part, sure, but now I had a plan. Every time he handed me another gift, I smiled and said thank you, while I invested it. Took a little here and there, flipped it into something that was mine, started learning about stocks, business credit, trademarks, opened a side business under a name he'd never recognize. I stopped asking for things and started earning them, my way. I used his lifestyle to buy my freedom. He never noticed. Why would he? He was too busy being the star of his own story, where he was the provider, the hero, the prize. And me? I was just the beautiful background, the lucky girl. But I had stopped feeling lucky a long time ago. What he didn't realize is, I never belonged to him. I let him believe he had won, that he had claimed me, because it was easier that way, safer, smarter. But every time he looked at me and thought, "She's mine," I smiled, knowing the truth. He didn't have a clue that the girl he thought he upgraded was already 10 steps ahead. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to scream. I just needed time. Because when the moment came, I wanted to leave without looking back. I wanted to walk away so smooth, so silent, that all he could do was watch. I planned it for weeks, quietly, carefully. Every detail mattered, because I wanted the moment to feel like a mirror. I wanted him to see everything he never bothered to look at. And more than anything, I wanted to leave with my dignity wrapped around me like silk. His birthday was coming up. He made a big deal about it every year. Lavish party, hundreds of people, camera flashes, laughter that never quite felt real. He lived for attention, for applause, for that feeling of being the center of it all. And I knew, deep down, the only thing that could shake him was silence from the person he thought he controlled. I wore the dress he bought me, the one he said made me look like his dream. I smiled the way he liked, soft, quiet, feminine. I greeted his guests, accepted fake compliments, sipped champagne. I let him hold me like I was his greatest achievement. And all the while, I felt nothing. Not hate, not love, just clarity. I had already left him in my heart. My body was just there for the final scene. When the music slowed and the lights dimmed, I leaned in close. My lips brushed his ear. I said, "You never had me." Then I slipped the key to his penthouse into his palm and stepped back. He looked confused at first, like I'd made a joke he didn't get. But I just smiled. Peaceful, unbothered, free. I walked out of that mansion like it was just another room I never belonged in. No tears, no drama, just grace. And I didn't look back, not once, because he didn't deserve to see the woman I had become. He built his world to keep me, but I built my own to leave. And that was always the difference. He thought love was ownership. I knew love, real love, starts with self. And that night, I didn't just walk away from him. I walked into myself. Fully, boldly, finally. The first morning after I left, I woke up in a tiny Airbnb I rented with my own money. No floor-to-ceiling windows, no silk sheets, just the soft sound of traffic outside and a quiet that felt new. Not lonely, just mine. For the first time in a long time, I didn't have to perform. I didn't have to smile for someone else's comfort or shape myself into someone's fantasy. I sat there in a cotton t-shirt, hair wrapped up, sipping coffee I brewed myself. And I felt rich, not in money, but in peace, in self, in truth. The truth was, I didn't know exactly what was next, but I knew I'd be building it from the ground up, brick by brick with my own two hands. I had the skills, I had the fire, and more than anything, I had my freedom. I started pouring into the business I'd been building in secret. I watched it grow, not overnight, but steadily. I made mistakes, cried some nights, but every time I felt fear, I reminded myself I had already walked away from a billionaire. What could possibly scare me now? I started reconnecting with parts of me I'd put on pause. I danced in my kitchen again. I laughed without wondering if it was too loud. I wore clothes that felt like me, not just what someone else found pleasing. I called my mom more. I spent Sundays with my friends who had missed me while I was busy living someone else's life. And the more I returned to myself, the more I realized how far I'd come. People always ask, "Do you regret anything?" And my answer is, no. I needed that chapter to teach me what love isn't. I needed to see the difference between being chosen and being claimed. He didn't break me. He revealed me. He gave me the clearest mirror I'd ever looked into. And in it, I saw a woman who deserved more. Not more diamonds. More respect. Not more luxury. More joy. Real, grounded joy. The kind you don't have to buy or borrow. The kind that lives inside you when you finally decide you're enough. Not because someone says so, but because you know it. So, no. I didn't lose anything by leaving. I gained everything, starting with myself. It was a few months later when his name popped up on my phone. I wasn't surprised. Men like him always double back. They think you'll still be waiting where they left you. He started with a casual message. "Been thinking about you." Then a photo of something I once said I liked, followed by, "Wish you were here." I stared at the screen for a while, not angry, just amazed. He really thought I'd come running, just because he remembered the sound of my laugh. I didn't respond. That silence said more than I ever could. A week later, he called. This time, his voice wasn't so smooth. It had an edge, like he wasn't used to being ignored. He said he missed me, that no one got him the way I did, that things didn't feel the same without me. I listened, quietly. He kept talking, trying to piece together the version of me he remembered, the soft, agreeable woman who made him feel powerful. But that woman was gone, or maybe she'd never really existed. I was just done pretending. Then he said the line, I'll never forget. "We were good together. You belonged beside me." I laughed, not to be cruel, but because he still didn't get it. I never belonged beside him. I just stood there for a while, until I found my own path. There's a difference. I told him I was doing well. I wished him peace. And then I hung up. That was the last time we spoke. He didn't call again. I think he finally saw what I'd been trying to show him all along. Not with words, but with action. I was never his to own. I was never a prize to be won. I was the lesson he didn't know he needed. And now, class was dismissed. If you felt that, hit like, share this with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe for more true stories of love, loss, and rising up. Because queens don't beg, they rise. And sometimes, the best revenge is peace.